guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Roop and today I'm going to be doing a movie review about the Wrinkle in Time movie. Just to let you guys know that this video is going to contain a ton of spoilers. So if you do not want any spoilers because you haven't seen the movie, do not watch this. Come back to this video after you're done watching the movie. So let's get started. So this movie came out on March 9th, 2018 and is about a girl named Meg whose father has been missing for 4 years and she is trying to find out why her father is missing. And so she goes on this adventure with her brother Charles Wallace and her friend Calvin to go find her father. In the process of finding her father, she gets help from these 3 misses called Miss Who, Miss Whatsit, and Miss Witch. And so they basically help them find where her father is. So she goes, finds her father, and in this process, she's figuring out who she is and stuff. So when she finds her father, she has to save her brother from an evil, and she finds out who she is and all of that. So the first thing I want to talk about are the places in the Wrinkle in Time. So the first place there was Urel. The second place was where the Happy Medium lived. I don't remember what the name was. And then the third place was Camazotz. And so basically these places are the places they wrinkled to, which is basically folding of time. And these places are so beautiful. My favorite especially is Urel, especially since we only got to see 3 and Urel was the most prettiest out of all of them because the Happy Medium place was a little confusing and not that pretty, and Camazotz was basically the evil place, so I didn't like that place and it was confusing. But I really like Urel because it was such a pretty place. There's so many trees and it looked a lot like Earth, and I think they did a really good job with film of how they turned it into something like you've never seen before, even though it's an actual real place to go to. So I thought that was really cool and it was really pretty, so yeah. So the second thing I want to talk about is Camazotz. So as I explained in the first one, Camazotz is an evil place. It's basically where the villain, It, lives, and I'll explain It later on. But it is where It lives, and it's a confusing place. So basically, Camazotz is where Meg's father is. So Meg, Charles Wallace, and Calvin go to Camazotz to find Meg's and Charles's father. And the misses can't come to them because their powers are drained. They're like dying basically from this evil force that they've been fighting. And so they go to Camazotz, and a lot of confusing things happen there. In the beginning, Meg and Calvin are separated from Meg's little brother Charles Wallace, which he is on the other side of Camazotz, and they have to get to him before they basically die because there's a whole entire storm coming toward them. Running to the brother, they make it to Charles Wallace, and then they see these houses. And in the houses, there's like a mom and a kid is bouncing the ball, picks up the ball, and walks away when the mother tells it to come in. And it's the same exact sequence. Like, it's happening at the same exact time to every single house. And so that was basically a weird, I don't understand why they included that. I know that was in the book, but it was so confusing. And then it switched to where they were at a beach. And I think compared to the book, they weren't supposed to go to a beach, but I think it helped explain what was going on. Basically, they go to a beach, and this beach has a ton of people on it, and they find It, or some form of It is in like a body, and it possesses Charles Wallace there. And so all that happens, Meg finds her father, and that's basically where the main area where the characters are. And so Camazotz, beginning to me, I thought how they made it was really good. I read the book and it was a little confusing for me to understand what was going on. That it was basically a different and confusing place. And Camazotz was just, I just loved how they made it more simplified. Because when I was reading the book, I was a little confused what Camazotz was. So when they were kind of explaining it in the movie, it was just easier to understand what it was. So I really thought they did a good job on that. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is our main character, Meg. Meg is the main character in this movie. She is a heroine who basically finds out who she is at the end, that she is a warrior. So Meg is basically this girl who doesn't fit in at school at all. She's really odd from the rest of them. She's really quiet. She's kind of upset in the movie because of her father is gone. She really wants to find her father, and that's basically all we kind of know about Meg. And so my first impression was that, oh, Meg, she's such a sweet girl and stuff like that, so she's misunderstood. In the book, I didn't really necessarily like Meg because she's a little dramatic at a lot of times, but I like how they made Meg in this movie really a strong, empowering girl who at the end finds out that she's a warrior that can beat any evil because she saves her father, she saves her brother, and she figures out who she is in all the process of doing it. So I really liked how they did that, where she became a warrior at the end of the movie. So the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is the fourth thing, is the misses. What I mean by the misses is Miss Who, Miss Whatsit, and Miss Witch. So these are the three misses that they call them. And they are here to help Meg, Charles Wallace, and Calvin on their journey to find Meg's father and to destroy it. So I'm going to talk about each Mrs. differently. So Miss Whatsit, I felt like she was kind of the main Mrs. I keep wanting to call them witches. I don't know why, but she was just the main Mrs. And basically is the first Mrs. we see, and she's a very funny character. Very funny. I loved how funny she was. She was a little bit odd at some points, but she kind of made the audience laugh. She was kind of this laughable, funny character in the story. I loved her personality. The next Mrs. was Miss Who, and Miss Who is just this kind of person who just talks. I don't think she had that much of a role in the movie, especially since in the book she was just there to just tell what other people are thinking. What she does is she takes famous quote and she quotes it, and then she basically says who said it. I like how they incorporated that from the book into the movie because each Mrs. had a different personality and stuff. So she was I felt like a quiet kind of person who just had a few lines in it, but she still made it good. And the next Mrs. is Miss Witch. I feel like she was the head of the Misses, and in the beginning of the movie when we see all of the Misses, we see Miss Witch, the biggest of them all, which probably means is she's the most powerful. I think she is the most oldest out of all of them. And Miss Witch is basically this mentor toward Meg, and she basically tells Meg all these things that Meg needs to know. So she's basically this little icon to Meg, which I think was really good how they had her like that. And the way she talked and stuff, you could tell she was a very powerful Mrs. So out of the Misses, I'm pretty sure you guys know my favorite, which is Miss Whatsit. I really like Miss Whatsit, but sometimes she could be a little rude. When she was talking to Meg, she was a little rude to her, but she was just a funny character that makes the whole entire movie really nice when you have a funny character inside the movie. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is the villain, It. It was the villain. It's weird to say it, but it was the villain, and we don't know a lot about it, except it is basically all the evil in the universe. And when the Misses were explaining it, it's basically it is every evil that you've known. So I liked how they incorporated that it was this big evil that attacks everybody, and this is why people are so mean to themselves, so angry at other people, is because it's attacking them. And so it is basically, he's not a human, not any foreign, it's just this big evil. And it consumes Charles Wallace, and Charles Wallace is obviously possessed, I like to say. He's basically possessed, and he's possessed by it. So it basically possessed him, and it was basically talking for Charles Wallace, which is a little confusing, but really, it is just evil. And my impression of it was, this is a good villain. It's a good villain to pinpoint. that there's this villain of the whole entire universe who has all the evil in the world. So I really liked how they had a villain named It in it. So the final thing before I rate it is my favorite character. Now this took a little time to think about because I like a lot of the characters. They're actually really good. So out of the misses, I like Miss Whatsit, but for me, I'm gonna have to go with my favorite character, being Meg. And although I didn't like her that much in the book, I never really had a favorite character in this movie. I kind of just liked Meg, Charles Wallace, and Calvin. But if I had to choose, it would be Meg, just because she's a little bit more understanding of how, like, she basically tells them that we can't mess around, we gotta do this and this and that. And she's obviously the heroine of the movie, and it's about her finding out who she is and how at the end of the movie she becomes this very strong person. So that's why she's my favorite character. And I guess she kind of ties with also Miss Whatsit. I really like Miss Whatsit because she was this kind of funny character, but sometimes she could be rude, but other than that she was a really funny character. Okay, so this is the moment you guys have been waiting for. I'm going to rate it. Now, from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, I'm going to rate this movie at a 6. That might be a little low, but it was a good movie overall. The reason I rated it 6 is because I thought it would be closer to the book. Like, whenever a movie tries to recreate a book, it's never the same. And the book had that one scene that I really liked with the Beast Planet, as I like to call it. They didn't include that. So I was really upset about that. And it's just, if I were to watch it for my first time without reading the book, I think I would be really confused. So I was really glad that I read the book, but I really thought it was confusing. Overall, I thought the places were beautiful and the graphics were perfect and the costumes of the misses were just unbelievable and all the places. But overall, it was a really good movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest you guys should see it again. It's so good. Okay, guys, that brings it to the end of this movie review video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed the movie as much as I did. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Snapchat at Disney13Magic. And don't forget to have a magical day.